Okay, this is another video of On the Couch with Lisa. I was a marriage and family therapist, and I'm quitting that because I don't believe in that anymore, and I will explain that. But basically, I don't believe in marriage anymore. That's really funny, right? And I don't believe in being a therapist anymore. Because for me, anyway, not at all therapists, I know everybody has their own take on things, but for me, that's a rescuer role. And I know as a marriage and family therapist, we were not trained to rescue. We were trained to empower people, and a lot of therapists do. But because I was given that role as a child, it to me was very attached to the rescuer role, and I just need to let go of the whole thing. And I do think that our system is set up as therapists being rescuers. So the greater system is set up that way. And that is also why I need to stop being a therapist. Anyway, that's not what this video is about. It is about, I'm moving over to my channel of Sovereign Tarot. And that's going to be my way of kind of doing tarot and also teaching embodiment and sovereignty. So I'm really excited about that because it's really fun for me. And so this is kind of like a bridge to that channel, because I was kind of like moving towards coaching, and I developed this model from like, it's bridging therapy with coaching with now tarot. I'm just bridging the channels. Okay. So this is the model that I created. It's actually using several different models and putting them together. So if you can see, I have a mandala surrounding the whole thing, and I'll tell you what a mandala is in a minute if you don't know what a mandala is. And then I have in the inside, I have Carp's Drama Trauma Triangle, which is the that's the rescuer, persecutor, victim. And if you're in one of those roles, or you find yourself in one of those roles, then you are in I think it's Carp who created it. It was originally called the Drama Triangle, but now they're calling it the Trauma Triangle. So the Drama Triangle. If you're in one of those roles, you want to recognize that you're in a triangle. And basically, you're in an unconscious, I don't want to call it an archetype because that's an overall pattern, but it's kind of like that. You're just playing a role, and it's not real. You're not really living something, and you're not conscious about what you're doing. And that's a lot of marriages. You're just reproducing a pattern that you learned. Most marriages, that's what you're doing, and you're not conscious of how you're interacting with each other. So we want to create more conscious relationships. I think we do anyway. Okay, so, and then you have the thoughts, the cognitive behavioral triangle in there, thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. So you can actually look at your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors and be more conscious of them. And in that triangle, if you change one of those, you change all of them. And so the mandala surrounds it, and I'm going to explain the mandala now. It's a symbolic map of wholeness, a circle or sacred center. It's a way of seeing, organizing, and remembering the self. It's a map of wholeness where every part belongs and the center holds, which fits really well with internal family systems, which is a great model of therapy. A mandala shows us how many truths can exist around one grounded center. A mandala is a center point, the essence, soul, self, with patterns radiating outward, holding many parts in relationship around a coherent whole. The center is the true self. Symbols equal parts, archetypes, experiences. The circle is the containment, safety, boundary. A mandala is a living field. Truth emerges through relationship, not hierarchy. Okay, so that's like kind of the whole model. I don't know. But I just thought it was really cool. A cool way of relating to life and relationship. And relationship is life and co-creation. Yeah, so that's just what I wanted to say today. I don't think there's anything else that I want to say about that except for to be sovereign, you cannot be a rescuer, persecutor, or victim. Although we all do play all of those roles. So it's about being conscious of when we're falling into them and then stepping out of it into our more authentic self, maybe stepping further into the circle, into our wholeness, into ourself, recognizing that these are just parts of us and they're not our whole self. And we can all be all of them. And if you can't see yourself as a victim, a persecutor, or a rescuer, then you got some shadow there, because we are all of that. And we're more than that. Okay, so in emotionally focused couples therapy, which is the primary couples therapy model that I used, we looked at thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, and the cycle that gets created between the couple, and how you could change those in order to create safety around feelings, especially deeper feelings of sadness, shame, fear, just some of the softer, more vulnerable feelings, but really all feelings, because in my family, you weren't supposed to feel happy or joy. Like if you felt that, you would be put down immediately, which I found really interesting as becoming a therapist, because you wouldn't really think that would be an emotion that would get pushed down. But it was. Okay, so I think this could be a really good model for becoming more sovereign, and I'm going to probably use that a little bit, just as an overall pattern. But I really want to use tarot and eventually astrology, because what I noticed in learning astrology, and I'm just starting to learn it, is you could see my divorce, you could see my new relationship, you could see how everything had purpose and meaning. And that's so crazy to me, because I always wanted to be, instead of a therapist, a psychic. And really, a psychic is just somebody that understands patterns, can see patterns. Somebody else said like a seer, somebody who can see patterns and understand them. And so as a marriage and family therapist, I've been able to understand patterns in the family and systems. And now I'm just moving to a larger system, which is the system of astrology. And I just got this quote today I was learning from Deborah Silverman. Let me see if I can find it. It was a quote by Jung that said, oh gosh, where is it? Basically, psychology would be a dinosaur if it didn't start to include astrology, which I thought was so awesome. But anyway, like, you wouldn't think that would be true, because everybody's all into, like, I'm gonna say science, and I really sound like I'm right wing now. But I'm not. I'm actually in the middle of everything. I'm really bringing together polarities. That's what I'm all about. And I'm not political at all. I'm just really about bringing together the polarities and understanding. Actually, if you another really good way of understanding that is this book called I read this in my master's program of psychology when I was getting my master's in psychology. It's by Pepper. I think it's Pepper. And it's called oh my God, I can't remember the name of it now, but it talks about the different oh wow, I'm just blanking on it at all. I mentioned it in another video though. it talks about mechanistic theory, contextualism, and organismic theory, and I think there's another one. But basically, that's what it is. It's the whole. It's sovereignty. It's how we are all sovereign, and so basically, all of these systems are getting broken down because they don't include the feminine. If you want to talk about it that way, they don't include the feminine. They don't include the right brain. I don't even know how else to say it. And also, according to Jung, the ego and the mind should be following the spirit or the soul. They should be in service to. So we need all of it. And that's what I've learned in every single thing that I've learned. And I have a master's in psychology, a master's in marriage and family therapy, and I learned all these different systems, right? I learned internal family systems is my favorite therapy model for the individual. Emotionally focused couples therapy is my favorite model for the couple. And then family constellations talks about intergenerational, transgenerational stories and archetypes and that get passed down and that are in the body and that are that we're playing out after. So if you, and what I've learned in family constellations is if you have a suicide in, this is just an example, in one generation, and that doesn't get processed, it will come out in another generation. If you have like somebody who doesn't get accepted for being gay in one generation, that somebody in another generation will represent that person or that being gay until everything gets accepted and included. Isn't that fucking amazing? I mean, it's all talking to how we need to accept and include everybody and everything. And this mandala is like a really good model of what we need to do. Love everything. Love, include, accept everything. You need sadness to experience joy. You need grief to experience joy. You need pleasure to experience pain. You need pain to experience pleasure. We need all of this. And it's interesting too, because it's just so interesting. Like what I'm learning through my own pain and now joy. It's just really cool. I'm really excited about where we're going. And I also think it's really funny that what we just pushed down and said was worth nothing. The feminine, the indigenous people, like astrology, like that's the most true. Love. That is the most true. And I learned that through my spiritual awakening, which was really devastating at first. Like finding out that everything that you thought was true and you worked so hard for was shit. And I shouldn't say that actually, because all of those experiences were real, and I had a really, I mean, all of those experiences were real, and I had some really great experiences, and I was in a lot of pain. So I can't really say that, although I liked a little drama sometimes. It kind of, I don't know, it just helps me to express. I have, I think I might have said this already, but I have Pisces Sun, Aries Moon, which makes me probably a little bipolar. Anyway, this is kind of like, even though it's Free Yourself Friday, I would say free yourself from the drama triangle, which I've done another video on that, and Theoretical Thursday all in one. And if you go over to my other channel, which is called Sovereign Tarot, you could also do Tarot Tuesday. And it's also not so wacky Wednesday, because instead of like, and I'm not saying that science isn't true, but it's not the whole picture, because you didn't include the feminine, you didn't include the right brain, you didn't include the unconscious, you didn't include the unseen, and we need to include all of it. Everything needs to get included, or it's not whole, it's not complete, it's not sovereign. We need to include all of it. Nothing gets excluded. And that's what we need to do in our lives too, is accept every single experience and learn to love it. And that's freaking hard. One day I can do it, and the next day I'm struggling again. And that's just what it means to be human. Okay, so that's just On the Couch with Lisa. And I hope you enjoyed it, or at least were entertained. I mean, we're all at different points, so some of this will not make any sense to you. And then, you know, if you go through my, if you go over to my Sovereign Tarot channel, I can do it, I can break it down little by little. But today I was just kind of vomited all over you, all of my thoughts and ideas. And I will be just breaking them down little by little in my tarot channel. And eventually I'm going to do astrology, and I'll be able to do that with couples, like what you're learning from this relationship, what you're supposed to get out of it. Because you know what? Like, relationships are living and moving and dynamic, and they're not supposed to be static. And we're not supposed to own each other or control each other or be so enmeshed and entangled with each other. I was just watching The Middle, which I loved that show. But now it's triggering to me. And it just triggers this part of me that's like, marriage is so not healthy. And I'm probably going to piss a lot of people off, but I don't really care. This is just my experience. And I think more and more people will be realizing this too, as you wake up from the illusion. Okay. Is there anything else that I wanted to say? Do I dare post this? I mean, I don't even care at this point. Okay.